Welcome to the AngelsWin.com podcast, featuring Jeff Stoddard and AngelsWin.com founder, Chuck Richter. And now, here's Jeff Stoddard.
Oh, yes. It is a very, very special edition of the AngelsWin podcast. And why is that, you ask? It is opening day spring training baseball for the Los Angeles Angels. Let's go.
Oh, God.
Clap it up. Clap it up. Chuck Richter, how you doing today? You ready for some baseball?
I am, man. I mean, obviously it's exhibition, but we waited. It's been a long winter, and a cold winter. At that. we were just talking about that. And yeah, it's like, my gosh, dude, I'm ready. When you see that lineup pop for the first time,
I can't wait. Yes.
I'm like, we got a lineup, which means we're going to have a box score. And man, I miss that,
I know.
That gap in between, the Super Bowl and it just being dead, until the first spring training game. Man, I just get jonesing, dude. So I'm excited.
Our friend Katie, who was on the podcast several episodes back, had a Twitter or an X post the other day that said something about when the lineup is submitted or when the notification comes through on Saturday, it's going to hit so hard. And I was just like, yes, it is. And here we are. And I'm just waiting for it. Got my phone here just set up, waiting for it to come through.
Yep. Heck
Can't
yeah,
wait.
Man. I'm excited. We'll talk about it later in the show, but there's a lot of guys that I'm personally excited to see how they perform in spring training, which could dictate a starting job or being leveraged more throughout the season. So
yeah. Angels are starting today against the Seattle Mariners. So that'll be an AL West starting matchup, which will be good. I texted my boys this morning and just said, happy spring training opening day. And my oldest responded and said he's going. So
that's
jealous about that.
Yeah.
That'll be cool for him and for everybody that's made the trek from Southern California or anywhere in the country to go see some ball today.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta get my boy is your boy's joining us, right?
He is, yeah.
Good for the okay.
Yeah. He'll be there. We'll hit that at the end of the show, too, what we got coming up. All right, so they're playing the Mariners today. We've got some Angels news to talk about. It's been a bit since we've had a podcast, although we did join a podcast with the Locked On Angels guys a couple weeks ago. That was a lot of fun to kind of sit in on somebody else's podcast and not have to do all the prep, just show up and talk. And no post-podcast production of getting graphics and stuff all set up. Just show up, talk, and be done.
It's like going to somebody else's house for Thanksgiving. You don't have to do any of the cooking.
Right.
You pick up a pie at Costco and you're done, right?
What perfect analogy.
No cleaning up or anything.
Yes. Perfect analogy.
Yep.
So anyway, let's get into some Angels baseball news and topics, I guess, as we're here to kick off the season. I think the biggest one that's come up since we had our last podcast, both with them and our own episode 46, was the official announcement that Mike Trout is moving from center field to right field. This is something that's been talked about and speculated about for years, really, about, when was it time for him to make the move and where would he go? Would he go to left? Would he go to right? It's now official. Mike Trout moving to full-time to right field. Thoughts, Chuck? What do you think?
I like it. I mean, initially we thought maybe the move would be to left.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think Taylor Ward's got more experience in left. So, I mean, I think there was probably a talk about, who's more comfortable playing where. And you got to love Mike Trout's attitude, dude. It's like team first.
Consummate professional. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's no Rafael Devers. I mean, it's like, I'm a center fielder,
right.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is, he's the quintessential, just all around all-American baseball guy that just wants to do right for his team.
Yeah.
And I just, I know it's not just Angels fans, you and I. It's the whole baseball world that wants him to stay healthy and succeed and have a Mike Trout type season, which he was on that track at the beginning at the start of the season last year in April, hitting home runs and stealing bases, which he hadn't done in a million years. So, I mean, I just want to see that. Everybody wants to see that. And if we do see that, and we'll talk about it later and get production from everybody else, look out. Look out.
Everybody wants to see Mike Trout in the postseason. We haven't seen it since 2000. God, was it 13?
Yeah. 14.
14?
Yeah.
It's been too long. We can't even.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that
sucked because the Angels were really good that year. But remember, they wrapped it up early September. And so they pretty much had the guys get cold that whole September. They weren't actually fighting and, for something like the Kansas City Royals were. And that's why they were a buzzsaw in the playoffs.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. I mean, you ran into basically a 2010 version of what the 2002 Angels were.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody really expected a ton from them, and they just buzzsawed their way to, to a World Series pennant. And and, I mean,
I like it, Jeff. I mean, Mike Trout's athletic, and he's got enough speed to, to cover that ground. It's less ground to cover, right? He's just got to learn how the ball bounces off the walls and stuff, and and throws, getting his throws right from right field, because he used to throw in center. He did play a little bit in right field, early on in his career and left. But he's athletic enough and smart enough to make that change, and I think succeed. He's got enough arm strength. Remember coming up, they said he was a 4-tool player because his one weakness was his arm. Well, Mike Trout being Mike Trout, he spent a lot of time getting that 5th tool. And
I'm glad you're addressing that, because I wanted you to address that. We saw a lot of feedback on that, both on the AngelsWin board and also on our X account, where people were kind of begging on, why is he going to right instead of left? He doesn't have the arm for right field. And you really stepped in to kind of talk about the work that he's done. I mean, really dating back to when I think it was Cole Calhoun that worked with them a lot, right? To like build up the arm strength doing long toss and such. But I mean, other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's all it takes. That's just the consummate professional and the work ethic that he has, that he put into crafting his game, to a higher level, right? And so accuracy of throws, strength behind his throws in not only the technique, but getting the body in good position to make a strong throw, all those things.
Sure.
And so is he a Vladimir Guerrero, Hunter Renfroe type, arm in right field? No.
Right.
But
does he have to be?
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, here's the other thing too. He's going to get to a lot of balls that both of those guys couldn't get to. So
it will be interesting, I think, to see the transition between, as a center fielder in general, but also being Mike Trout as well. If there's a pop fly in the outfield that Mike could get to, it was his ball.
Yeah.
As a right fielder, that's supposed to be not the case anymore, right? Yeah. Center fielder can get to it. It's the center fielder's ball.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
And it looks like Joe Adell's going to get the majority of, the playing time in center field. So, seeing them work together, roles reversed, right? Now he played right field last year, succeeded. Joe Adell just changed his game.
Right.
And he was spectacular in right field. But he is a natural center fielder. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm actually excited to see it myself.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You got to change things up, and it's time. one of the things that we talked a lot about on the message board was how this was 100% the right move, but how we were kind of all sad about it. Because if we're being honest, he's reached that point in his career, right? He's reached that Torrey Hunter point where Torrey Hunter had to move over to right as a young Mike Trout came in. And it's like, oh, Mike is 33 now? Yeah. And he's on. I know Mike's real into golf, and he's building the golf course with Tiger, and he's investing in that virtual golf tournament thing they have, which, by the way, if you guys haven't watched that, really entertaining golf stuff. But he and Shohei Ohtani are big investors in that league as well, with like Shaq and some other people. Anyway, he's real into golf, so I'll use the analogy. It kind of highlights the fact that, Mike's on the back nine of his career. And it's just like, damn. Like, really? Are we there already? Has it really been that long since this 19-year-old kid, came up and worked his way into the lineup and became our future? Yeah. And then it's like you keep unpacking that a little and going, oh my God, this franchise has wasted the last decade with this generational guy, generational talent, who's also just, for all accounts and everything that we see, an amazing human being and everything that you would want the face of your franchise to be. Yeah.
We're going to look back on time, Jeff, and we're going to, children all gather around. Let me tell you a story. At one time, the Angels had Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, had just signed Anthony Rendon, coming off a tremendous 2019 World Championship season, all at the same time. Now, for context, they're not going to know that Albert Pujols was aging and wasn't the same player, right?
Right.
But when you look at having, those type of players that were all on the same team, let's exclude Anthony Rendon for a second, but three guys that are going to be sure first ballot Hall of Famers done, right?
Right.
And they couldn't win with three of them, right? So, and
even it's not that they couldn't win at all with three of them. They couldn't break 500.
Yeah.
They couldn't get into the playoffs.
Yeah. It is. It's a shame.
You're right. I mean, the way that, when we were on with the guys on their podcast, the Locked On Angels dudes, we were talking, they're talking about memories of, back in the day. And I mean, kind of the way that we talked about, seeing players like Nolan Ryan when we were little kids, or seeing Reggie Jackson, or seeing, Bo Jackson, or, any of the players that, even those that weren't with the Angels, but just in the league, how we talked about that. I kind of, feel like at some point in 10, 20 years, my kids will be doing a podcast talking about the good old days when they, used to see Mike Trout play. And he's that guy.
Yeah. And I think that's, to me, that's where my anger is, centered on Artie Moreno, that he had a chance to do something very special around some special players, but he couldn't build up a pitching staff, right? Couldn't fill out the roster to support those guys. And that's a shame. But let's just hope this new crop of players coming in, some of the guys that we'll add that we have added via free agency in trades, can, be supportive type players around Trout and the younger guys, and see where that takes us.
And let's hope Mike stays healthy.
First and foremost,
as a lot of people pointed out, most of his injuries have not come out in the field; they've come in the batter's box, right? Being hit by pitches and whatnot,
or running the bases. That calf injury that he landed second base. Yeah,
exactly. But you brought up something. Let's hope that some of the free agents that we've recently acquired help out, and let's talk about one of those. So, they got a 37-year-old free agent from the Red Sox. you would that's one of those things that you look at and go, really? We're signing a 37-year-old pitcher? That's the thing? People are really excited about this, and you're one of them. Why don't you share your thoughts on this one?
He hasn't declined in terms of stuff,
right?
In terms of numbers and saves, right? And so, and I think you needed a guy like that. I don't think you go into a season unless it's a complete rebuild, right? You don't go into a season and just give Ben Joyce, right, the ball,
right,
as closer,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Let him work up to it, just like the Angels did with Francisco Rodriguez and Troy Percival, and they brought in. The Angels knew they had a flame-throwing high 90s, hits 100 miles per hour every now and then. Younger Troy Percival, they brought in Lee Smith.
Right.
And so to kind of nurture him along and then pass the baton to a Percival. And I think that's what they're doing here. And, hey, I mean, Kenley Jansen can get the job done. If the Angels are in that position again at the deadline, Jeff, where it's just not looking good, and Kenley Jansen has looked great, they could get a boatload of prospects like they did last year.
Sure.
For Carlos Estevez,
sure.
Garcia. So, I mean, I think it's a great move. And let's just hope we keep these guys because, we're not just picking up guys to just deal them at the deadline and get prospects, but we're actually leaning on them in September.
Right. Yeah, and just the boatload of prospects that the Angels got when they traded Shohei Ohtani at the right time, right?
Oh, God.
Oh, wait, we forgot to do that.
Jeez.
Anyway.
We're off to a great start.
Sorry, I'm getting bitter. It's opening day. It's all positive. It's good vibes only. Good vibes only.
Yeah.
The other thing was the Angels, and this was something that was curious to me. The Angels announced their opening day starter, and it's Yusei Kikuchi. I think I'm saying that right.
Yep.
Maybe it's just me. I was surprised that they announced their opening day starter before they had their first spring training game. Were you, or is that just me?
Yeah, it is a little early, right? I mean, because even when Weaver was the stud that he was for the Angels, I don't think they announced it that early, right? And then even going back to Garrett Richards and stuff. And so I don't, that was something that they would wait until at least mid-spring training or the end of spring training, they'd release their rotation.
Right.
But, I don't know. And also Ron Washington's already trying to get a set lineup already. And we're just at the start. Why don't we let this thing play out a little bit? I mean, maybe some guys slot in better at different spots in the lineup. And, so I don't know.
Can I put on my tinfoil conspiracy hat on this one?
Let's do it.
All right. One of the things that jumped out to me when they made the announcement 2 days ago was that on the official Angels X account, they announced that he would be the opening day starter. And they announced it in English, and right underneath it, it was in Japanese. A few minutes after the announcement was made on the official Angels account, the Angels PR account followed up to say that Kikuchi, being the opening day starter, that the Angels and Dodgers would now be the only major league teams to have had multiple Japanese-born pitchers make the opening day start. I think this was done and was announced so early because Artie is trying to dip back in to that sweet, sweet Japanese cash that he was getting when Ohtani was here and flew out the door when Ohtani left. We saw a bit of that on our own X account. Like when Ohtani left, our followers went and just sunk, right? And a lot of them were people from Japan that followed our account. And then when he went to the Dodgers, they just like unfollowed us, which I thought was kind of funny. So I think the reason they did it, this was a marketing thing. Again, is he good? Is he maybe our best pitcher? Is he maybe the guy that should be on the bump on opening day? Yeah, probably. But making that announcement so early with that messaging,
yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, you may be right. I mean, you never know. I mean, if anything, Artie is a marketing guy, right? I mean, so you got to give him that, right? I mean, he was a millionaire coming in to buying the Angels, right? So
hate the game, not the player.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I do think that he is clearly the best pitcher. Now, maybe in terms of who has the better season, I'm actually thinking it's going to be Jose Soriano.
Okay,
who I'm looking forward to seeing. But I mean, man, it would be great to just have Kikuchi just step in that role and just be the guy and just be the shutdown front end arm that the Angels have been needing. And he pitched really well for the Houston Astros after that trade.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of exciting things to look out this spring, and I'm really excited about a lot of things that could be unfolding. Jack Hanowitz, I want to see how he looks. I want to see if he added a punch out pitch, because man, he's got a heavy, hard, high 90 sinker that he pounds the zone with. Remember, we were looking at his stats last year, Jeff. We're like, my God, he's throwing all these quality starts and zeros, and he's got like one strikeout or zero strikeout. So if he's a guy that if he were to add a splitter or a changeup or a punch out, hard curveball or something, I mean, holy smokes, he could be something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Detmers too. I mean, Detmers threw a no-hitter, for crying out loud. And the guy,
and almost threw a second. He took another no-hitter into the ninth.
Yeah. Immaculate innings. Yeah. I mean, the guy's just, he's a great guy. The Angels need these guys. They need a lot of good stories this year, and for Mike Trout to be healthy.
Yeah, they need consistency is what they need. Yeah. You look at it, and okay, so I'll hit pause real quick for all of the listeners that are undoubtedly going to come back at us and go, you guys spent all off season and the whole last half of last season on your podcast bagging on this team, bagging that they're – yes, we did. Folks, it is opening day of spring training, and hope springs eternal.
Yep.
The grass is green. The lines are being put on the field. The boys are hearing the crack of the bat in batting practice. You hear the smack of the fastball coming in as pitchers are warming up in the bullpen. This is the time to get excited. And if you think that we are not going to be like carrying the banner and ringing the bell for this team – until and unless they completely let us down, 2-3 weeks into the season, we're in. Like we're ready for this. I'm ready for people to have career years and to pull it all together. And Ron Washington, all of his messaging and everything just lines up.
Yeah,
it's going to be a magic year.
I
Chuck.
really hope this podcast that we're actually talking about meaningful baseball.
Yes.
When it comes to late August and into September. Remember our first year of the podcast, when they got to that deadline. Remember, they got Lucas Gelato.
Yeah.
They got CJ Crone, Randall Grichuk. They were loading up on guys, right? And Moustakas and all these guys. And they were like, let's go. And then they just shit the bed. But
nothing.
Then, that would have been a time in hindsight to have traded Ohtani, right?
Right.
Because they would have had another year, right, of Ohtani, and you could have gotten so much. You could have gotten at least
gotten the world for him.
2 top prospects in all of baseball for Ohtani at that time. So but I want this podcast and I want the Angels fan base to unite, and because there are some asshole Angel fans out there, dude. But one thing is for certain, like when the team is winning, everybody just comes together, everybody gets along. It doesn't matter.
Everyone loves a front runner.
It doesn't matter what your politics are, Republican, Democrat. It just doesn't matter. People unite. And I want to see that, man.
I do too. And I know that, hey, hand up. When you said there's a lot of asshole Angel fans out there, I know that I've been one of them from time to time.
Yeah,
but it's a new day. It's a new season. LFG, buddy. Like, let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what's next on the agenda. So, some shocking news coming out of a couple weeks ago regarding the Angels' high-priced third baseman. It turns out Anthony Rendon is going to miss most of, if not the entire season, because he's having hip surgery. Chuck, that had to have just knocked the wind out of you, and I could have knocked you over with a feather when you got that news.
Well, you know what's funny about that is I actually heard that that Rendon spent a good amount of time in the offseason actually prepping for this upcoming season and actually put on some good, healthy weight muscle to endure the rigors of the season and to get some strength back in his legs and his arms, because he showed up last spring. Jeff, I talked to some guys, some of the writers, that cover the Angels and stuff, and they said that when they saw him come into the clubhouse on day one of spring training last year, they're like, he was noticeably like just a shell of his former self. Like his arms were thin. I mean, his legs. I mean, he just didn't look like he put in the time in the offseason to get stronger, to show up in the best shape of his life.
as is tradition.
Yeah, exactly. and so they were perplexed by that. And it showed by the guy just having nothing coming from his legs and his at-bats, dude. I mean, he was not driving the ball at all. I mean, he looked like Juan Pierre. Hell, Juan Pierre hit the ball farther last year than Anthony. And so so I was hoping that news was we're gonna see him and see him have a productive spring, and then who knows, maybe have a turnaround. But alas, his body's just broken down, and hopefully he gives. I don't know about you, Jeff, but hopefully, I think it'd go a long way for the Rendon haters out there if he were to say, you know what, I've been really shitty for the team, and I haven't been able to stay on the field, and just I'm forfeiting the last year, or taking a discount, just taking a little bit and retiring. It ain't gonna happen.
That's not gonna happen.
I know it's not gonna happen.
but it would go a long way.
Yeah.
I actually think, again, nobody was, I mean, when we all saw that news come across, it was like, oh, this is the least shocking news that we've ever seen, that Rendon's going to be out. I actually think the net of it could be a big positive for the team. I think that not having the shadow of this guy kind of out there, like, sitting on the bench, hurt, waiting in the wings, like he's going to be gone, like rehabbing, doing whatever. He won't be around. I think it could be good. It gives guys a chance to step up, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Moncada does. I mean, he's a guy, the top prospect coming out of the Boston organization for the Red Sox, got traded the White Sox, had a couple good seasons, one, in particular, but I mean, he's got talent, and sometimes people need a fresh start. They need a different team to kind of start things over, to kick things. Yep. Yeah. And so, I mean, let's hope for that. That's another one to keep an eye on this spring.
Yep. I'm excited for that. Well, speaking of this spring, 2 weeks from now, you and myself, along with all the stars of the AngelsWin Galaxy, will be in Tempe, Arizona for our spring training Fanfest. Do you want to tell the people about it? I'm excited about it. I've got my plane tickets, got the hotel. I am ready to go, buddy.
Yeah, I am too. And let's kind of back up a little bit. So as you well know, Jeff, our production back in the day was tremendous, right? I mean, we did it. We went all out. We actually had what was equivalent to a regular team's Fanfest. where we had, which the Angels haven't had since, my gosh, since they had Vladimir Guerrero.
Right.
I was there.
Right. Yeah.
There was probably one after that, but that's the only one I remember. But I think that was in 2004, the offseason after they signed him. So it would have been in 2004. But anyway, and we had Jerry DiPoto, the GM, we had Don Baylor, we had Tim Salmon, we had Hector Santiago, Cole Calhoun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Artie Moreno.
It just goes on and on as guest speakers who would get on stage and talk about the team. And we do a Q&A with them. You were up there for many of them.
Yeah, we would fill ballrooms for these things with hundreds of people.
Banquet rooms. I mean, I think the biggest one we had was like 240 people.
Yeah.
That was wild. And those were fun, man. And everybody contributed in some way. We had like six or seven of us, and each one of us had a job. Right. And, but now as we gotten older, it's a lot of work. And
well, you said it before. It was like, go big or go home.
Right.
And for a handful of years, we went big every year. And then it got exhausting and we went home and we stopped doing them.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like, I feel a little bit like it's a band that was small and got big and was playing arenas, and then they broke up, and now they're getting back together and they're just playing club shows because they love the music and they love the fun. And I kind of feel like that's what we're doing with this. Like, hey, let's not do anything like way over the top where we need, it's basically becomes like a second job to us to hold this event. Let's get some fans out at a brewery, and we'll invite some guests. We'll have a good time. We'll eat some food. We'll drink some beers, and it'll be fun. But anyway, it's going to be fun. So we've set the expectation. So now you can unpack what we're doing.
That is such a good analogy of the concert thing. I remember as a kid seeing REO Speedwagon at a huge venue, and then
you see him at the state fair.
Or a casino is
right. But you know what? It's fun. Like all the people that are there are old and they remember from seeing them back in the 70s. And it's like, you know what? This is cool. They're still doing their thing.
So last year it was a great time. We had about 65 or so of us. We had Trent Rush, Jeff Fletcher, Rhett Bollinger, and we were supposed to have Mark Gubazah, and Tim Mead hooked that up, but Gubazah had to go home for some family emergency or something, so he couldn't make it. But it was still a great time.
Yeah.
And Trent Rush just knocked it out of the park in that same role that Tim Mead always played on Sundays of our 3-day Fanfest.
The State of the Team address.
And he got up and just crushed it, dude, knocked it out of the park. And I just said, can you just say a few things about the team, and where we're at and stuff, and then take in some questions. And he did, dude. And so he's going to do it again. He'll be back on Friday.
Awesome.
Or at Oso Brewery on March 7th. This year we've extended the invitation to Sam Blum. So I'll get to meet Sam Blum for the first time. We'll have Rhett Bollinger at MLB.com. Jeff Fletcher, who's a longtime good friend of ours. I mean, my gosh, he's been coming. Jeff Fletcher has been coming, was at those Fanfest.
He was on the media panel taking questions with Victor and some of the other guys.
Yeah, Jose Mota and Mike DiGiovanna and Terry Smith, Alden Gonzalez and
Rex Hudler.
Remember the Big Nasty?
Yes.
Joe McDonald. He was on there one year. And so, those were good times. Bill Plunkett is another guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Played for the Dodgers for a long time now.
Yeah.
The heck with him. Anyway.
Screw that guy.
And so, And so, basically, I mean, just to set the stage of what this is going to look like, okay? It's a very informal thing, right? To Jeff's point earlier, it's just chill. We're guys that just want to have fun. and meet some of the guys and just hang out, talk Angels baseball with guys that are plugged into the team. This year, we may have 1 or 2 minor leaguers coming out. I think I already revealed one, but I'm going to zip it for now and not mention who that is. And once we do announce who's coming, you guys, it's too late.
Right.
You're locked in. You guys Yeah. So anyway, and then Trent's going to bring somebody from the active roster.
Very cool.
So
it's a lot of fun. One of the things I'll say is that you never know who's going to show.
Right.
Every year that we've done these things, we are like the afternoon of the event going, who we getting? Who we getting? Who we getting? And about somewhere between 90 minutes and 3 hours before the event, our phone starts beeping and it's Chuck going, guess who's coming? And I remember the one year was, again, it was like 90 minutes before we started. And Chuck's like, Artie's coming. And he's bringing his family and he's bringing the whole front office with them.
Entourage.
And we're like, holy shit. This is back when everybody loved Artie because he had just signed Pujols. He had just signed CJ Wilson. And it was good times back then.
Yeah. And dude, even for that one, we still had Cole Calhoun minor leaguer. Remember Jerome Williams, pitcher? We had him.
Yep.
And we had like 3 other minor leaguers show up for that thing too. Oh, we had Matt Shoemaker there.
Yes, Shoe was there.
Shoemaker. I forgot about him. Yeah. and so man, and you're right. And Trent alluded to that it's going to be the same thing, that he'll probably let us know day of. And that's kind of nice. I like the excitement. I did put in a couple requests for certain guys, and we'll see who we get. Dude, I mean, but you're right. The only famous person that we knew that we were getting way ahead of time was Tim Salmon.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Because we locked him in 2 months prior.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, that's one where we just hit the 200 mark. And then from that point on, 2-3 years after that, it
blew up.
It was Cole Calhoun, Hector San Diego, Sarah Kalana. Then after that, it was Don Baylor. And mind you, each and every one of these guys, the GM of the time, Jerry DiPoto, was a fixture.
Right. Yes.
Every year.
While he was GM of the team, he would come to this event. Yes. It was. Yeah. We pulled. We had we got some stuff. But whoever's there will be, stars of stage and screen there. But for certain, Chuck and I will be there.
Yeah.
We'll be hosting the event. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be there. Some of you we've met, some of you we haven't. Come up and say hi. Introduce yourself. Would love to meet you. Take pictures.
And that's really what it is, Jeff. It's just
kiss babies, whatever. Whatever you need.
Really just gives it time.
Buy us drinks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It really just gives the fans to interact with people that they see online and talking about the team and on the team, in that kind of setting, in a very informal, chill, people drinking beers, having drinks, eating, appetizers, just hanging out type of, atmosphere. So you're on mute, Jeff.
Sorry, I'm trying to, when I've listened back to some of these, I find that I'm like breathing really heavy into the microphone or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to mute myself when I'm not talking. So sorry about that. We're sold out, right? Like everybody, the thing is, but it's a bar or a brewery.
Well, it's really cool. I looked at where we're going to be at, Jeff, and it's really cool because we're kind of like half on the inside and the other half is on the outside of this huge area, and our whole section is actually at the bar that wraps all the way around. So we have our own little area in the back and then all around that area. So it's sectioned off, reserved just for us, and I'm excited. Four Peaks was good last year, but it's time to move on. I mean, they wanted to change some things up, and then And so we're gonna
announce again where it's at. It's at Oso. Is it Oso? Okay.
Yeah, Oso Brewery in Gilbert, Arizona.
How far away from that is that from the ballpark?
Not too far. I want to say 20 minutes, 25 minutes,
there you go.
If anything.
Right,
yeah.
Just trying to calculate my Uber ride back to the hotel.
we're gonna have plenty of people with cars that will be driving from California. So but at the same time, we probably shouldn't be
plenty of people tipping too. So
yeah, that's true. I don't know if we're gonna have any designated drivers with our crew.
Exactly.
Not with our crew. So yeah.
All right. Well, before we wrap, there's one other thing that I want to share, and I know that I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I want to send a very happy birthday wish to David Salzer, who is the head writer for AngelsWin.com, has been for years, covered the Angels for AngelsWin at so many of the press conferences, asked really good questions that ended up getting clipped and put on like ESPN and Fox Sports and MLB Network because he asked good questions that got good answers, and they would get those posted. Dave's been fighting some health issues for the last several years, and Dave, we're glad you're still here. We love you and want to wish you a happy birthday. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Yeah. I sent him a text this morning. I hope he's been chomping at the bit to get back at it, but with cancer's a son of a bitch, man.
Yeah. Fuck cancer.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Anything you want to share or talk about before we wrap?
I mean, there's plenty of things to talk about. I mean, I will just say I'm excited to see that lineup again. I'm just looking at it right now. Ward left field.
Okay, go through it. I didn't see that it came through.
For today. We got Taylor Ward in left field batting leadoff. Hoppy batting second at catcher. Mickey Moniak in right field. Obviously, Mike Trout is not going to play until Monday. They announced.
Right. Yep.
Jorge Soler, DH. Cleanup. Nolan Shanyu out first base. J.D. Davis at third base. Joe Adell in center field. Let's see. Tim Anderson at second base, and Newman at shortstop. So, dude, I mean, it's just, and Conowitz is on the bump for the Angels. And so, I believe this game is televised, on the new FanDuel. Yeah. So
will it be on? So I have subscribed to the MLB app. Is that not a thing anymore? Or?
Yeah, I mean,
I guess I haven't looked into streaming and what's going on. I just every year it auto renews and I keep watching the games.
I hope it is. I mean, it shows that. But I want to see I want to see at least the first half of the game for sure. I got a company coming later, but
see some green grass and warm weather and palm trees.
Yeah.
Before we jumped on, Chuck and I were talking about how excited we are to get out to Tempe because we've both been living in snow-covered, freezing conditions for the last.
Oh my gosh!
Seems like forever. This has been the longest winter.
Yeah.
And I am ready for some heat. You can't tell because of the lighting. We were talking about how red this uniform makes my face look. It like just draws it up, and that's because my skin is so white and translucent. It just reflects any color that's in the room or that I'm wearing.
White. I usually got a tan. Dude, I'm white as a ghost.
This is what happens when an Irish Scottishman wears red. I just reflect it. But yeah, man, can't wait to sit in the stands on Friday and get a good sunburn going. And let's go.
Know. Dude,
let's go.
That sun just touching your skin and that first ice cold beer that you just grab and get to your seat. Oh,
sucking in that vitamin D with the beer and let's go.
Can't get here soon enough.
All right. I think that's it. It's opening day, everybody. Spring training opening day 2025 LFG. Let's go. Let's go, Angels. On behalf of Chuck Richter, I'm Jeff Stoddart. Let's have a season, everybody. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the AngelsWin.com podcast with Chuck Richter and Jeff Stoddart. Until next time, go Halos.
Say goodbye.